I left my husband for another man. Now my daughter says he's thriving without me. I'm 37 now, and man, life is way different than it was a few years ago. I'm married to Larry, who used to be the other guy when I was still married to my first husband. We've been officially together for 5 years and married for 4. It's wild how life spins around, right? So, let's rewind to the start. I met my first husband in college, and we got hitched pretty young. He was this super hardworking, ambitious guy, traits I really admired. But as his career took off, it started to demand more and more of his time. Our home life, especially the intimacy, suffered. He was great in a lot of ways, helping around the house and making time for monthly dates, but I still felt neglected emotionally and physically. That's when Larry came into the picture. I met him at a friend's party when I was 31. He was charismatic, charming, and made me feel understood in ways I hadn't felt in years. We started as friends, but our connection quickly turned into an affair 7 months later. It was thrilling at first, full of passion and new love excitement, but deep down, I knew it was complicated and hurtful. Eventually, my marriage couldn't handle the secrecy, and when my husband found out about the affair, I was faced with a tough choice. My feelings for Larry had grown so strong that I chose to leave my husband for him. We divorced, and not long after, Larry and I got married. Things seemed perfect at first. Our first 2 years were blissful, like living in a bubble. We were both working and used some of the divorce settlement money to enjoy life together. But then 2020 hit us like a ton of bricks. Larry's work dried up because of the pandemic, and suddenly, I was the primary breadwinner. Financial strain hit us hard. I took on 2 jobs just to keep us going, and we even had to rely on my parents for support, which I never thought we'd have to do. We sold the house and car from my divorce settlement and downsized to a cheaper place. We squeezed every penny, saving for a business venture to turn things around. Starting that business was a gamble, but it started doing better than expected. It felt like shedding all those ties to my past life allowed us to begin something new together, but it was still hard work with no guarantees. Then, about 4 months ago, I found out Larry was secretly taking money from my savings. It was like having someone sneak cash out of your piggy bank. When I confronted him, he got defensive and claimed he didn't trust me, which stung because of my past infidelity. Larry seems to think it's okay to stash some cash away just in case things go south between us. He doesn't help out at home either, leaving me to do all the chores while he chills, plays games, and hangs out at the bar. And it gets worse, I recently discovered he's cheating on me with a waitress from the bar. It was a shock and made me super sad because I thought we were supposed to trust each other. Now, talking about divorce feels like such a mess with our tight finances. It's even tougher than when I was with my ex-husband, especially since Larry just quit his job, putting added pressure on paying for everything. Also, I have a 12-year-old daughter from my first marriage. She always tells me how great her dad is doing. They even went on a trip to Venice, which makes me a bit sad and jealous. I feel like I didn't end things well with him. I did tell him the truth about cheating, and we split pretty amicably. He got primary custody of our daughter while I got the house and car and see her 5 days a month. But now, I can't stop thinking about my ex. Maybe it's guilt, maybe there's still love, or maybe I'm just a mess because everything is falling apart. I wonder if I should talk to him, but we only ever chat about our daughter, and I haven't seen him in person for a year and a half. Part of me feels like a terrible person for cheating and ruining a good thing, and now my life's just in shambles because of it. To clarify, I didn't abandon my daughter. My ex-husband asked for primary custody because he realized he couldn't have it with his demanding job. I wanted the house, and we reached an agreement where he offered me money, the car, and the house in exchange for primary custody. I do feel guilty, but I don't want to get back with him because I know it wouldn't be right. I broke him, and though I feel guilty, I'm also proud of how he rebuilt himself. My life is a mess, and I take full responsibility. I keep thinking of him because I miss him and want to talk, nothing more. The fact that the guy I left him for is now cheating on me is tearing me up inside. So, it's a bit of a mess right now. I messed up big time and now I can't stop thinking about my ex, even though I know I don't deserve a second of his time after everything I put him through. We had this deal, you know? He really wanted to have primary custody of our daughter, but his job was super demanding, so he knew it wasn't gonna happen. That's why he offered me the house, money, and car in exchange for custody. He was the one who wanted this deal, not me. I kept telling him I didn't deserve any of it after screwing him over. Now, I'm stuck here, thinking about what could have been. People keep telling me I've learned from my mistakes, and it's time to move on and focus on bettering myself. Sure, I've tried opening up to my ex, but it's all just tough luck, right? One commenter even pointed out that the guy I left my ex for isn't exactly the catch I thought he was. He wasn't always a guy who played video games day and night while ignoring real work. During our affair, he seemed ambitious and gave me the attention I craved. I jumped in because of that, but it pretty much wrecked my life, my ex's life, and messed up my daughter's childhood. Another comment made me think maybe he just hid his bad traits well. They suggested I cut my losses and move on. They even went so far as to say I traded my daughter for assets, which is not fair. My ex begged for custody, I didn't just hand her over. It's wild people think it was some kind of trade-off. I'm already struggling, juggling 2 jobs and dealing with everything being a mess. Yeah, I messed up and deserve this, but it's tough, you know? I mean, what would anyone else have done in my shoes? Go through a split custody battle even though he begged for primary custody and promised to keep my cheating a secret from our daughter? I chose what felt like the lesser evil, even if it meant agreeing to his terms. She's still my daughter, and I've never given up on her, even if I've made some crappy choices. To top it all off, turns out the guy I ended up with, Larry, was sneaking money from my savings. Imagine having a secret candy stash and someone just helps themselves without asking. Yeah, sneaky. But it gets worse. Last Thursday, I come home early to surprise him with dinner, and there he is, cozying up with someone from his old workplace. And not just anyone, but the assistant principal from his school. Like, really close on our couch. And Larry? He just looks at me and says, "This is how things are now." Can you believe it? I was frozen, not knowing what to do. After they left, I called my best friend over, needing someone to vent to, trying hard not to break down. So, I was just sitting there, enjoying my ice cream, when someone let slip that a bunch of our friends knew about Larry's behavior. They assumed I knew and was cool with it because I'd cheated in my previous marriage. I felt so betrayed, like everyone was plotting against me. It was like I was suddenly thrust into a detective story, and I had to get to the bottom of this mystery called Larry's life. I started digging and found receipts and even a lease for an apartment I had no clue about. Turns out, Larry had been renting a place across town under a fake name, and guess what? The assistant principal was staying there. It was like he had a whole secret life I knew nothing about. In the midst of all this chaos, my phone buzzed. It was my ex-husband, my daughter's dad. He was worried because our daughter had overheard him talking about my situation, and she was upset. My heart just dropped. The last thing I wanted was for her to be hurt by all this adult drama. My ex wanted to meet up and discuss how we should handle this with our 12-year-old daughter, who really shouldn't have to deal with this mess. It made me think back to when things were more stable with him, even if it wasn't perfect. Here's the kicker, Larry decided he needed space after everything blew up. He packed up some bags and left, saying he wasn't sure if we even had a future together. So there I was, left to deal with my shattered heart and a broken home. I kept wondering what I should do next. Should I try to mend things with Larry, or is it time to cut ties and start anew? Maybe I should talk to my ex more, not to rekindle anything, but just to find some peace amid all this turmoil. One thing's for sure, I need to focus on my daughter and ensure she's okay. Everything else is just noise compared to making sure she feels safe and loved. Then last week, I was just trying to have a normal morning, sipping my coffee and checking emails when the mail arrived. I figured it was the usual stuff, maybe some flyers or bills. But nope. There was this super official looking envelope, and my heart did a little flip because let's be real, good news rarely comes from fancy envelopes. I opened it, and bam! It was like getting hit with a lightning bolt, minus the cool thunder. The letter was from a lawyer, and not just any lawyer, but one hired by Larry, who has apparently decided it's time for a divorce. I saw this coming, but here's the shocker, he wants half of everything I own, including my business and my 401k. My business is like my baby, something I built from scratch, and my 401k is my future nest egg. Reading that letter hit me with a wave of emotions, anger, fear, stress. How could Larry, who was once my partner, now try to take everything I've worked so hard for? It felt like I was the lead in a movie where everything's going wrong. After freaking out for a solid 10 minutes, I called my sister. She's always been my go-to when things get tough. We talked for ages, and she was so supportive, telling me I needed to stand my ground and not let Larry push me around. She said I gotta fight for what's mine and show him he can't just take things from me. She also advised me to get a good lawyer who could help me protect what I've built. Now, here's where it gets tricky. Fighting this battle in court is going to be expensive. Lawyers aren't cheap, and my business is already feeling the strain from all this drama. Customers can sense these things, you know? I'm stressing about how to afford all this. Plus, I'm a mom, and my daughter is seeing this unfold. She's only 12, yet so wise and kind. She sees I'm upset and gives me the biggest hugs, telling me, "Mom, it's going to be okay. You're the strongest person I know." It melts my heart. She's my little ray of sunshine, and I've promised myself that no matter how messy this gets, I won't let it mess her up. She deserves a happy mom and a stable life, and I'm going to do what's necessary to give her that. So, what's next? Well, it looks like I'm about to take on a big fight. I've got to protect my business, my savings, and most importantly, keep my daughter's world as happy and safe as possible. It's going to be tough, but I've got my sister and daughter cheering me on, and I'm ready to fight like never before. Okay, so remember how I said things were getting wild with Larry wanting to take everything in the divorce? Well, I thought that was bad enough, but life threw another curveball at me. Feeling really down and lost, I started reminiscing about my past, especially Mark, my first husband. He was the guy I was with before all this chaos started. Things with him were pretty good at times, stable, secure, and he was genuinely kind. After the whole Larry disaster, I started missing those good old days with Mark. I wondered if there was a chance to fix things and maybe start fresh with him. So, what did I do? I decided to visit Mark. Yep, I drove all the way to his place, my heart pounding like crazy. I was super nervous, but I felt like I had to try. When I got there, I took a deep breath and knocked on his door. When Mark opened it, his face said it all: shock, surprise, disbelief. It was like he couldn't believe I was standing right there. So, I was super jittery and started talking a mile a minute. "Hey Mark, wow, it's been forever. So much has happened, and I've been doing a lot of thinking about us, about our past and how we ended things. I honestly feel terrible about how everything went down. I'm in a bit of a rough patch right now, and I guess I just miss how great things were with you. Do you think there's a chance we could talk things over and see if we might be able to start again?" Mark just stared at me like I'd just dropped in from Mars, clearly ticked off. He got all loud, saying, "You think you can just pop back into my life and ask for a redo after everything that went down?" I tried to explain, tried to tell him how sorry I was, but he wasn't having it. He'd held on to all this anger, and it just burst out. Before I knew it, he flat out said, "I think you should leave. We've moved on, and there's nothing left to say." Then, bam, door closed right in my face. I stood there for a minute, completely stunned and feeling a whirlwind of shock, sadness, and a mountain of regret. The drive back home was a nightmare. I was in tears, feeling so alone and unsure of everything. Why did I think going to Mark would fix anything? What made me think he'd want to dig up what we'd both left in the past? Now I'm back at my place, feeling every bit of stress and regret crashing down on me. I've got this messy divorce with Larry overshadowing everything, trying to take my business and savings. Plus, the whole Mark situation just rubbed salt in the wound. But here's what hit me: I can't keep looking back. I've got to look forward. I've made some big mistakes, but I've learned from them too. My focus now has to be on the present, especially being the best mom possible for my daughter. She needs me to be strong, stable, and to show her that no matter how tough things get, we can make it through. So here's the plan. I'm going to find an awesome lawyer to help me fight Larry in court and ensure he doesn't take everything I've busted my butt for. I'm pouring all I've got into my business, making it even better. And I'm going to make sure my daughter knows she's loved and safe. It won't be easy, and I know more hurdles are coming, but I've got to keep pushing forward. I truly believe there's light at the end of this tunnel, and I'm going to reach it no matter what. Update 4, so where do I begin? Just when I thought I'd seen it all, life throws me more curveballs. After Mark slammed the door, I was pretty down. But, life doesn't slow down just because you're feeling blue. First up, I had to deal with the nightmare of my looming divorce from Larry, who's suddenly acting like a villain, wanting half of everything, my hard-earned business and all my savings squirreled away in my 401k. It felt like a never-ending nightmare. Determined not to let Larry bring me down, I went on a mission to find a superhero, a super lawyer. I found Miss Carter, who came with top-notch reviews and a rep for being tough as nails. At our first meeting, I unloaded everything: the love, the betrayal, Larry's sneaky financial moves, and his outrageous demands. She listened with laser focus, jotting down notes like lightning. When I finished my sad tale, she looked up and said with real determination, "We're going to fight this and win. You're not alone." That was the first glimmer of hope I'd felt in weeks. We mapped out our battle plan carefully, marking every step to protect my business and future. While Miss Carter was prepping for the courtroom, things back at home got emotional. My daughter, who's just 12, cuddled up at home after I'd asked Mark to help with her for a day. She picked up on all the stress and started doing these sweet things to cheer me up, like leaving cute notes on my pillow or drawing us holding hands and smiling. It was heartwarming but also broke my heart because she was trying to comfort me when it should be the other way around. It made me even more determined not to let this mess drag me down. I had to stay strong for her, and for me. Just as I thought I had a handle on things, there was an unexpected knock on my door one lazy Saturday morning. I wasn't expecting much when I opened it, but there stood my brother, who I hadn't seen in years after a massive family fallout. There he was, looking a bit awkward and nervous, asking if we could talk. We ended up at the kitchen table over steaming mugs of coffee. He said he'd heard about my situation through the family grapevine and felt it was time to let bygones be bygones and stick together because, as he put it, family should always stick together. It was surprising but felt nice to reconnect. He even offered to help out with my daughter whenever things got too crazy. Rebuilding bridges with my brother felt like finding a safe harbor in the stormy sea I was navigating. It reminded me that even when life looks bleak, there are unexpected moments of light and people ready to help. So here I am, gearing up for what could be the fight of my life in court, but feeling a bit stronger with my lawyer and my brother by my side. I'm learning so much about facing tough times and finding out who's truly got your back. Life's unpredictable, right? It's like this crazy ride, you're up, you're down, but it just keeps going. As I prepare for whatever's next, I'm hanging on to everything I've learned, the people who've got my back, and the hope that the sun will shine after every storm. Update 5. The day kicked off just like any other stressful one. I woke up early with my stomach in knots, my mind buzzing about the court hearing. I met up with Miss Carter, my lawyer, outside the courthouse. She looked totally ready for anything, and seeing her all confident made me feel a bit better, like we actually might win this. Walking into the courthouse together, the air felt heavy and chilly. The courtroom was huge and kind of intimidating, with its high ceilings and echoes. I sat down, trying to look calm, but my heart was racing like crazy. Larry was already there, looking all serious and lawyered up. His lawyer had this smooth-talking vibe, like those TV lawyers who can spin any tale to make their client seem like a saint. The judge got things started, and Larry's lawyer kicked off by painting Larry as this supportive husband who just wanted what's fair. Then it was our turn. Miss Carter stood up and nailed it, showing all our evidence, emails, financial records, everything, proving Larry hadn't been contributing and had been up to shady stuff. She spoke so clearly and confidently that it seemed we had the upper hand. But then Larry got up to speak, and wow, he was emotional. He talked about feeling lonely while I was busy with my business, even teared up a bit. It was an Oscar-worthy performance, and it clearly struck a chord with the judge. Waiting for the verdict was brutal. Time crawled, and every tick of the clock was like a punch. Finally, the judge spoke, and it was gut-wrenching. Larry won. He got half of everything, half the business, half my 401k, half my world. It didn't seem fair or right, but it was real. Walking out of that courthouse felt surreal, like I was in a nightmare and half of everything I had built was just gone. Back home, I took some time to let it all sink in. My brother, who's been my rock through this, kept reminding me, "You're down, but not out. You can rebuild, come back stronger." His words helped, even if they didn't take away the pain. Now, I'm focusing on what's next. It's going to be tough rebuilding my finances and my business, but I've learned a lot. Resilience isn't just about getting through the good times, it's about dealing with the bad ones. I've got my daughter, my brother, and a lesson in toughness that no courtroom can take away from me. I'm figuring out my next steps, focusing on recovery and rebuilding not just my business, but my spirit too. Life threw me a curveball, but I'm learning to hit it back even harder. Last update, as I sit here typing this, a lot has changed since my last update. The chaos of the courtroom has settled, and life's found a new kind of normal. This new normal came with tough lessons and some serious soul-searching. Looking back, from my first marriage to Mark, to the whirlwind with Larry, and the courtroom drama, I've realized something important. If you have a good relationship, cherish it. It's more valuable than gold. I once thought the grass was greener on the other side. Larry seemed like an exciting new chapter after feeling overlooked in my marriage with Mark. But that adventure turned into a nightmare, costing me not just financially but emotionally and spiritually too. Larry's charm was just a facade, hiding a person I barely recognized by the end. Losing half of everything to Larry felt like a cruel joke, especially after everything came to light. But in these dark times, I discovered my resilience. My daughter's endless optimism and love and my brother's unwavering support showed me the true meaning of family and strength. So here's my advice: if you have a good partner, treasure them. Work through issues together, communicate, And don't let small rifts grow into unbridgeable gaps. The thrill of new things fades, but the deep comfort of shared history and mutual respect is rare and precious. I'm in rebuilding mode now, my business, my life, and my inner circle. It's not easy, and some days are tougher than others, but I move forward with a clearer understanding of what truly matters. I'm also giving back, talking to young people about my experiences, hoping they can learn from my mistakes. Life comes in chapters, and while some of mine have been rough, I'm working on making the next ones filled with peace, growth, and happiness. Mistakes are part of life, but they don't define us. We can learn, grow, and most importantly, forgive ourselves and keep moving forward.